Okay. Hey everybody, how you doing? It's Mike, and of course, we have to go to the intro. So let's cut straight to the intro. All right. Hey, thanks for sticking that out with me. Um, so we're here today, and I want to talk about Hare Krishna cults. I want to talk about Scientology. I want to talk about the protest that's going on all over the world, and I support you guys. You guys are the best out there, uh, protesting Scientology, and everybody's doing a great job. And you know, I guess I don't really care about all the politics and all the drama going on between the um, different protesters. Like personality wise and all of that, I couldn't care less about anybody who's protesting, like what their personal, like don't care about. All I care about is bringing down these cults. Like if you're out there and you're protesting, great. Like who cares what else you're doing? But if you're like um, if you're working with Scientology, or you're, I don't know, hanging out with Scientologists, or I don't know. I don't know what's going on. Um, but let's just say the Scientologist and Scientology is very sneaky, and they're going to do everything they can to disrupt. And they are. They're already disrupting everything pretty well. Um, like you close down the center on Hollywood Boulevard. I mean, there's nothing going on there, so that's a win. But they've got plenty of other buildings, and I mean that's a big deal. But I think they're going to come back. I don't think that's closed forever. Um, but that's a big deal. And the court cases, everything that's going on with the court, and the restraining orders, and all of that. They're as long as you guys as long as the protesters are dealing with court stuff and all of that, you're not out protesting. And if they can keep you away, even while court cases are going on, that's a win for them. I mean, all of these things, it's not easy. And I just want to say, I support everybody out there, and all the lawsuits and everything. This is just they've been Scientology's been fighting this for years. They've been doing this for a long time, so um, they know, they're prepared to take on, these protests. I don't think they expected these things to last as long as they have, and maybe to have spread as much as they have. So I think it's great. I support everything you guys are doing all over the world, in Boston, Chicago, everywhere, Hollywood, Inglewood, um, all the channels. I know even the channels, the ex Scientologists that have, um, there's beef between them. There's beef between the protesters and the channels and the chats, and this and that. It's goes on and on, which is exactly what you know. That's all great for Scientology, because as long as you guys are we or whoever, I consider myself a protester, um, even though I'm not physically protesting. But as long as they can keep everybody fighting amongst themselves and occupied with things that are not protesting Scientology, then they feel like that's worth it. So, um, just more power to everybody who's sticking it out, everybody who's not giving up, everybody who's not going over to I don't know, whatever. I just want to see everybody work, everybody out there protesting. Um, I know that Scientology is doing everything they can to, uh, to stop it. So just everybody, I am supportive. Everybody who watches my videos, I hope they're supporting Scientology. I mean, supporting the protesting of Scientology. Um, and these channels that are like they're anti-protesting channels and videos. I mean, it's just the whole internet digital age that we're in, where anybody just like me can make a video and promote what they want and criticize what they want. And I guess that's the beauty of it, and that's also the drawback, because these cults spend a lot of time promoting themselves on the internet and promoting themselves as some kind of just fake everything, fake yoga classes to fake Honduran, Chicano, Latino Democratic clubs, so they can get a street closure and have a free festival on L. Ron Hubbard Way. I mean, it just makes no sense. There's no sensible organization would want to be associated with a dangerous cult like Scientology without there being some kind of connection. I mean, if you're a PR person for a major organization and you want to, you're promoting your organization, you should pretty much know who Scientology is. I mean, anybody who's been to college and has a degree in marketing and sociology or history or literature or anything should know who Scientology is, or should know that, or if Scientology came to them and they didn't know who Scientology, they should be able to find out. Um, or if they're directed to Scientology, they should be able to go and find out who's Scientology. And then once they find out who it is, they should immediately be like, well, we don't want to have our festival on L. Ron Hubbard Way. We don't want to be associated with Scientology. I mean, any normal company, business, does not want to be associated with Scientology. They just don't want to have a connection with them. And I'm sure that the movie studios are not happy when celebrities, come out and talk about being in Scientology, or trying to promote Scientology, or this person's a Scientologist, this person's a Scientologist. Uh, I don't think they can like that with the negative publicity that they're getting from Scientology, from the negative publicity that's in the media, and then to have them come out and say, "Oh, I'm in Scientology," just like with the Olympics. I mean, that was my hair. That was really crazy with the Olympics, with Tom Cruise and France coming out and saying, warning the people that Scientology is a cult. I mean, usually they don't. Usually places don't come out and do that. I mean, even if like the city of LA is not going to come out and go, well, we know that Scientology is a cult, but yet we're going to no, they're gonna act like Scientology is not a cult. That's just what people say. They have the freedom to be a religion, and they can block this, whatever. Same with the Hare Krishnas. They're going to say, well, we're going to give them we're going to give them a permit to close down Venice Beach and take over Venice Beach for this one day, so they can recruit into their dangerous child abusing cult. Like, why would any responsible government allow that? It just does not make sense. And you say, well, there's child abuse and sexual abuse everywhere. Why does it matter that it's in the Hare Krishnas? It's not really their fault. It's part of. No, the difference is that if your kid is an altar boy and he gets molested by a priest, you can call the police and they can arrest the altar boy. They can go investigate, and chances are, the priest, or not arrest the altar boy. They go and they can interview. They go arrest the priest. There can be a court case and the priest can go to jail. That happens all the time. They arrest them and they go to jail. But in the Hare Krishnas and Scientology, in a cult, they don't, everyone's quiet. They don't say anything. That's the difference. Is it the molestation and the abuse, the domestic abuse, all of that stuff is not, it's not reported. So there is no justice. There is no accountability for these things. There's zero accountability for the child abuse, child sexual abuse, all of that within the Hare Krishna cult. There's no accountability for it. So you say, well, you know, there's abuse, but everywhere else, if someone is caught abusing a child or abusing anyone, there's consequences. They get arrested. Hopefully, they get arrested and they get prosecuted. They go to a jury. A jury will decide whether they are guilty or whether they're not guilty. That's how the system works, and that's how the children get justice. Is by people speaking up, people reporting things, and people not being quiet and being and keeping things inside the cult. That's why these things go on, and that's why the city and these governments allow these cults to operate, because they say, well, we don't. There's no evidence of anything. We can't discriminate against the Hare Krishnas. We can't discriminate against Scientology. We don't. That's just what are you talking about? Human trafficking. What are you talking about? All these sexual abuse and child abuse and child labor, or all these things that we claim that is harming these children and all these dangerous cults. They go, well, no, we don't do that, because it's not reported. But you go to the Catholic Church and you go, yeah, all of these priests have been caught. All these priests have been gone to trial. This one was found guilty. He served time. This one didn't. This one, whatever. But they're held accountable because it's not a cult. It's just a religion. It's just it's just a religion. So they're not hiding. Maybe. I mean, I can't speak for the whole thing. They do. A priest. They could move them from one church to another or whatever. But you can go and report these things to the police, and they can investigate. And they can track these guys down. These things happen. These heads of the Catholic Church have been brought to justice. Not all of them. I mean, not everyone, but they get found out. These kids speak up. They find out who the guys are, and then they bring them to justice. But not in the Hare Krishnas, because even in the Hare Krishnas, it's such a mind-controlled cult that even the children that are molested, the children that are abused, are brainwashed into not speak, not doing anything. And even when they speak out, they are they themselves are banned, kicked out. I mean, this is their whole lives. They don't know anything else. That's just like taking them out. That's like just throwing them to the wolves. They don't know how to live in society. They don't know how to live outside of a Hare Krishna community. They're 20 years old, 30 years old. They spent their whole life in the Hare Krishnas, and they've been abused, and there's no way out for them. There's no justice for the one. A lot of times these children in the Hare Krishnas see the person that abused them as being worshipped as if this person was some kind of god. That is just... So, I of course, I wanted to talk about Scientology and supporting the protesters, supporting the protesting and supporting the protest of Scientology and the individual protesters. Confident Chris and all of these guys, and everyone that runs the channel, and of course Tori Magoo. She's the OG. She's 30 years in Scientology. I was 20 years in Hare Krishnas. I've been out for just 12 years, out of the Hare Krishnas for 12 years. I'll tell you, it seems like a long time, and yet not a long time. I just walked away. So I tried to just get, it was 20 years of my life was gone, and I tried to, I realized that it was, just a waste of, there was nothing I could do with those 20. You can't cash them in. You can't cash those 20 years in. They don't do me any good. It's not like I learned a trade or I learned something. It's not like I'm an electrician now or anything like that. So it's not like anything came of it. I have maybe some some views about being more compassionate towards people, being more compassionate towards animals. Maybe, I did learn some things like that, and learned to respect maybe cultures, and took some wonderful trips around the world and things like that. But man, it was 20 years of just gone. Okay, it was just it was. I was 30 years when I got involved in it, and the next thing I know, I'm 50 something years old, and it was not the same. It was I wasn't the same person. I was older and different. It was at 50 years old, you're like you're like a senior citizen, but you're not retired. I'm retired now. I wasn't retired then, but I was heading into there. But when I joined the Hare Krishnas, I was only like in my early 30s, and I felt like I had my whole life ahead of me. But at 50 or 51, you realize you don't have your whole life ahead of you. You have life, but it's not your whole life ahead of you. It's definitely not. And so, Tori joining Scientology when she was in her early 20s or a teen or whatever, and going through 30 years and coming out when she was like 50. I know what that's like. I mean, I was 30 when I joined, came out at 50, and those years are just gone. Those years are just gone. And nothing good came of them. A little bit, a sprinkling of good came, but not, you know. So I just want to, I have to say, how much I support everybody out there doing that with Scientology and bringing awareness. And I have to bring awareness because of my involvement with Hare Krishna. The same type of awareness, whatever I can, to bring awareness to the dangers and the harm of the Hare Krishna movement. And since a lot of people don't know me and they don't know anything about Hare Krishna, it's easy for people to just say, well, who's this guy? And where is he from? What did he do? Whatever. Why should I listen to him? And you don't have to listen to me if you don't if you don't believe me. But yeah, I was in the Hare Krishnas for 20 years. I started hanging around him in '92 in L.A. at the L.A. Temple. I was there. I spent my whole time in the Hare Krishnas in L.A. around the Hare Krishna Temple, and actually moved into the community in 2008. So 2008 until 2012, I lived in the neighborhood, in the community, right there at the LA Temple. I worked in the video department, subtitling videos of the founder, of the founder of the Hare Krishna movement, the guru, the guy, everybody, we worship him like God. So I worked studying his videos and his lectures and subtitling them because of his accent, the way he talked, his English, and he spoke a lot of, he repeated a lot of verses, Sanskrit verses and everything. So we had to subtitle those so people could understand and follow along with what he's saying. And I did that for a couple of years. So I really got really involved with the philosophy and these lectures, and I felt like I was for a couple of years. I felt like I was going going and just having a one-on-one with the founder of this whole movement, because I was just like getting this direct study in every word he was saying, literally studying every word he was saying for subtitling these videos. And I know it sounds funny, I was studying every word, but I was literally studying every word he was saying, because we had to watch. I did. There was one guy that would help me if I got stuck, and then if he couldn't help me, we'd both go find a guru that could unstuck us. But I would sit there with headphones on, and I would watch these videos of his lectures, these movies of his lectures, and he's lecturing about these lectures, about whatever chapter, whatever verse. This is what he did. He did this in the morning. He did this twice a day, every day. And they would videotape him. And this is back in the 60s and the 70s. So here it is in the 90s, and I get this. I'm working at the LA Temple in the video department, and I'm studying these lectures and these videos of the founder teaching, giving lectures, and speaking. and I'm subtitling them. So I'm actually studying every word that he's saying, and putting it on the screen and making sure it matches when he's talking. And so I'm getting like this, I feel like I'm getting this like one-on-one with the founder for like a year every day. This was my job at the temple. This is what I was doing. And then when I wasn't working, I was just hanging out there doing, hanging out with the Hare Krishnas and being a Hare Krishna. And then I made trips to India and I did all of that. And so I was in for 20 years doing that type of thing. I only worked I only worked that job for a couple of years, subtitling those videos for a couple of years. But the rest of the time I was just there hanging out. And then later on I started working with some people who were publishing some literature. So I did some typesetting, some computer work with another group of old-time Hare Krishna devotees that were, one was like a Swami, he wasn't a Swami anymore, and some other guys had been around forever, and we had like our own little group, and I was working in that group, and I did that for about 10 years. So that's my history. That's my history in the Hare Krishnas. And but even though I have that history, I know that it's not, just one person sitting there talking about something. It's not really, it's good. I watch people talk, like Tori and other people. I watch them talk about Scientology, and I learn a lot about Scientology and how similar it is to Hare Krishna, how much L. Ron Hubbard got from the Bhagavad Gita and the Bhagavatam and all the stories and all the stuff, and how he just got it and he just used it. He was a writer, so he just used it. He took a bunch of stuff and he just repackaged it and spit it out, which is basically what the founder did. What the founder did was he repackaged it with the focus on himself, and joining his cult. So the emphasis of all his books are emphasis on him and reading his books and joining his cult. So everything he says, every point he makes, every story he tells, the moral and focus of it in every which way, but in every which way is he's as good as God, and you got to follow him, and you got to read his books, and that's it. Join his cult. So he says it in a lot of different ways, he says it and explains it, but that's the gist of it. That's the gist of everything he says. That's the gist of everything he says. But even though I can explain it and I have my story and everything, I do like to show what other devotees have to say and what they've done, and also examples of what the Hare Krishna cult does and thinks, what they teach, all of these things. It's very important. Public awareness is very important that they know. There's other people like me out there doing this. It's few and far between. It's not like Scientology where there's a lot of information out there. Hare Krishna is not a lot of negative. I mean, there is some. You got to know where to look, and you'll find documentaries and you'll find information. But a lot of it is done in cooperation with the Hare Krishna. So they divert the focus of the bad stuff onto one or two individuals only, and not the cult itself. They always want to say, we're not a cult. We don't do that. It's just this guy. Oh, that guy did it. This guy did it. So, and they ignore the whole point of it being a cult. But there are some people out there who do have videos that are speaking out. A lot of people who speak out are still in the cult. They speak out about the cult, but they're in it. And they don't know, they're so manipulated. It's like a Scientologist coming out and talking about how bad Scientology is, but they're still going there every day. And doing the auditing and doing everything. But they'll sit there and tell you how horrible Scientology is. And you go, well, why are you still going there? And they're like, well, I'm not really. I just like, they'll make up whatever excuse they are. But there are a few people out there that are critical of the Hare Krishna cult, want to expose it, and they either were in it and have left, or they were never in it. But like I said, they're hard to find. So I want to be another one. I want to be another one of these people that are hard to find. But I do have a video, and this is from a guy who basically I want to talk about this one incident of child abuse that happened with one of the Krishna Cult ISKCON leaders. He's one of the top gurus in the movement right now. He's got a lot of followers. He brings in a lot of money. He was accused of molestation when the girl was a young girl, and they tried to cover it up and say it was not a big deal. But what happened was she grew up. So now she's 30 years old now. And she, like 10 years ago, she came out and said, hey, this is the truth. I'm gonna tell the truth. This is what really happened. And she basically told the truth, which is not what they said. So her truth goes against what the official story was. So so now, just recently, it's come out that the organization, the Hare Krishna organization, actually knew about all of this stuff, and they've been covering it up all along. But they've known all along. They've been covering it up. So I'm going to break it down. There's a couple different videos I want to show you, but this is one of the ex Hare Krishna members, but he was also a child who grew up in the Hare Krishnas, and now he's very critical of the Hare Krishnas. And he has his own channel where he exposes and tells his story, and he has a lot of great videos. So I love watching his videos. I love sharing his videos. He's really good, and he is really good at explaining things. And he's been doing this for a while, and he has a degree in philosophy, so he's really into, like religions and philosophy and all this stuff. So he has a lot of experience speaking on the subject and all that. So he's really good, and he's going to explain in this clip. He's going to explain what happened in this incident, and he's going to share the details of what went on. And then I'm going to speak on some of it. I'll stop it and I'll speak on it, and then we'll move on to some other videos that have to do with the same issue. But let me get to this guy. His name is Gore Raider. He's really good, and he's really good at explaining everything here. So let me get this guy going.
So I'm going to put a link to a website in the description box. This is satyavrata.wixsite.com. Some videos there and testimony from the girl. Her name is Satya. So these are statements from Satya. She's 32 now, so she was 22 at the time. July 11th, 2010. Haribol, I am the girl that Lokanath Swami touched inappropriately. It did not, all capital letters, happen just one time in the living room on the sofa, but rather throughout the week. There's a statement put out that he was holding a Krishna book. He made her sit next to her and was holding a Krishna book in her lap, and it made it seem like it was sort of like he accidentally brushed against her inner thigh, or it was something, or the groin region, something sort of momentary. So she's combating that idea. But rather throughout the week when he stayed, he touched me various times inappropriately. I'm surprised now, at the age of 32, that nasty, vile pedophile did not try to rape me. He took my innocent father's words of, quote, she's growing up here in America, why don't you teach her some more Indian culture, and turned into his way of taking advantage of me. He called me various times throughout that week. It was Easter vacation, so I had off, and it was hot, so I was wearing shorts. I was 11 and a half years of age. I sat down next to him after he insisted many times, and he decided he would teach me how to play the harmonium. He several times rubbed his hand up and down my leg, inner leg, and out, as I was seated there next to him and the harmonium. I asked him, what are you doing? To which he replied, nothing, just concentrate on the harmonium. I cannot tell you, all caps, I cannot tell you how horrified and dirty I felt inside. Throughout the days, he then once woke me up singing Jeev Jaga, and Nita Chandra Utta Jiva. And when I got up, I was wearing shorts, he patted me on my butt. I ran into my mother's room and into her walk-in closet and hid. He came in after me, he pulled me out saying, "Why are you hiding?" And again touched me on my butt, held my hands and put his arms around me. Again, he called me for harmonium lessons, and then when he touched me inappropriately again on my leg, I got up and ran into the kitchen and went to my mother who was cooking prasadam for this ass. I went to my friends.
Okay, I just want to stop it there. Now, it sounds like, okay, he's kind of like he's a creepy old guy, right? Because he's a grown man. He's probably in his, I gotta say, he's got to be in his 40s, maybe 50s at this time. And this is an 11-year-old girl. But even if he was 30, it's still, she's an 11-year-old girl. This is an 11-year-old girl. Now, this guy is a guru, which means he is like one of the highest levels of this spiritual path. He's chants, he gets up, he's got this whole spiritual regimen that he does, and all these prayers that he does. He leads, got these disciples. He's like the Maharishi, okay? He's got a big following in this movement. And here he is in this family's house, and he's touching on this girl, right? And so it would be bad enough if he was just like creepy uncle, right? Just creepy uncle is bad enough, right? I mean, if this was the guy's brother and he was doing this to his niece, you'd go, that guy's a creep. He's patting her he's touching her on the butt, he's touching her on the leg, inside her thigh, he's hiding it. He's, he did the whole predator thing about like, well, why are you hiding from me? What's wrong? Why are you doing this? That is so that is so creepy predator stuff. Like if that was uncle, whoever, you'd have a problem with him. You'd be like, hey man, you'd have a problem with the guy. Like, why are you touching my daughter like that? Why are you chasing her around the house? Why are you patting her on the ass? Why are you doing? What's wrong with you? She's 11. All right? Even if she was 18, you'd be like, hey, why are you touching your niece like that? Why are you lusting over your... So you got to think, like, this guy's got female disciples. He's got male disciples. He's got children disciples. This guy's like a respected guy in the Hare Krishnas. He's like a big deal. And he can't keep his hands off this little girl. Now, I don't know what's going on with this little girl. I don't think anything's going on with this little girl, but they're going to say, well, because I know what they do. They say, well, she's overdeveloped, or she's well developed, and she's developed, and she was probably raising her skirt, or she showed too much skin. She was showing too much, and then she made him mad. He was her, right? Blame the victim, right? Blame the victim. It's her fault. If she was lusting after him, he's a saintly guy. He wouldn't do anything wrong. He's just like this. He's a guru. He's as good as God. They worship this guy. They offer him flowers. They wash his feet, drink the water. They do all of that. And don't think I don't think I'm exaggerating. They really do that. They really do that stuff. They worship this guy. So of course they're gonna go, no way, he didn't do it. Anyway, I always get worked up with this stuff. But that's what they do. They defend these guys, and that's gonna be the next video I'm gonna show you. It's exactly how they defend this exact guy here. So let me just show you a little bit more of this here.
Sangeeta's home later that day to play, and I told her he disgusts me, I don't like him, I don't like the way he touches me, he makes me feel so dirty. She didn't know how to react at age 8, but she just said to tell your mother. The next day he called me into the living room and asked me to bring the Krishna book and read it next to him. He had me sit right next to him, leaving no space between us. He placed his hands on my crotch, not on my lap, and said, I'm keeping the book from touching you there, so just keep reading. He kept his hand there and any time my mother would walk by the room, he would quickly remove his hand and place it above my head around me. He did this several times throughout the course of an hour, and after that, sick feeling inside me became the most prominent thing for me. I told him I was tired and I left the room. The day after that, some of his bogus followers were there at the house, and when I came inside from playing with my friend, having a dirty feeling inside of me the whole time, the ass had a nerve to call me several times to sit next to him in front of everyone. I told him no and ran away. Thank goodness that nasty pedophile left the day after, and my dad suggested I touch his most unholy, disgusting feet. I said, no, I will not. I told my mother about everything the night before, and she was so shocked, disgusted, and appalled at everything. What could a defenseless 11-year-old child do? Just say no and tell her mother? There was no legal actions I knew of at the time that I could take. If I had known how to kick that ass in his groins to teach him a good lesson, I would have, but I didn't know that at the time what to do. Yes, that silly investigation happened by Yashoda, and she just followed me around the house, asking me where this and that happened and how this and that happened. We were promised that Lokanath would be punished. He was not. His stupid, misled followers still blindly follow him, accuse me of lying. I will never forget what I've been through. Till this day, Ravinja Swarup, head of our nearest temple, acts like nothing's happened, was nonchalant about the whole thing. He's always had a cold, disrespectful approach to our family. We trusted him, and he nor the GBC never followed through, but that's okay. The law of karma and Lord Krishna will. That is who they will have to answer to.
Okay, so let me just say, I really feel, God, I feel horrible for that whole family. Here, they invited this guy into their house. They thought he was like the spiritual guru who was going to enlighten them and give them something that was going to help them in life and make their lives better. And here he touched, we say touched because we don't want to, he didn't rape her, but he totally violated her innocence. He totally touched her inappropriately. It hurt her as an 11-year-old child. It broke her trust with adults. It broke her trust with. It didn't get her out of the religion. I mean, she's still stuck in the cult. She can't get out of that. She can't get out of the cult. But I don't even want to talk about that. But as a child, what he did was just the most despicable thing, and in that position, to have that position of respect and authority and just dominance over not only the little girl, but the whole family, the mother, the father, and then to just destroy the whole family like that. She has to live with that. She's 30 years old. She's a grown woman. She has to live with that. She has to deal with that every day. She's still dealing with it. She's still dealing with it, and she's still manipulated by this cult. So she has been victimized like 3 or 4 times by this cult. She was born in it. She doesn't know anything else she doesn't know anything about life other than this cult. The cult took her innocence as an 11-year-old. She had to deal with this molester that was chasing her around her house. She got no justice or anything from the organization. They didn't do anything in her defense or punish him or anything, even though they told her that they would. And she sees him rise up in the organization to become a even bigger figure than he was before he molested her. He was already a bigwig when he molested her, and now he's even bigger. And she has to watch him be worshipped, literally worshipped as God by these fanatically crazy wackos. She's watching this, and she knows the truth of this guy because she lived it. She knows I can't even imagine. Well, I can't. I can't imagine what she's going through, but I almost can. And when I say that, you have to believe me. I can almost understand what she's going through. But anyway, that was Gore Raider. Go watch his videos. He's got some great videos about the Hare Krishna. I think I got another clip from him. I'm going to show you later. But I do want to show you now. I do want to show you now a clip of this organization, and it's a short clip. This was a long meeting. This is towards the end of the meeting. Towards the end of the meeting, when basically they give their conclusion, what they want to do about this guy, because they want the organization wants to do something to this guy, and there's like a rebellion. And so this was recently. This was a couple years ago. This was just a couple years ago. They had this meeting to try to figure out what to do, and the leaders of this organization decided, we care about the guru more than we care about the children. That we don't care about this girl. We don't care about the children. We're going to go with this guy. And so I was wanting to show you this. So somebody leaked this video because it's worth leaking. It was worth leaking, but it's basically the organization talking about how they're not happy. They don't want any restrictions on him. They don't want anything. In fact, they actually ask for an apology. They want the organization to apologize to this guy for even bringing this up. they want this guy to apologize for bringing up the fact that he molested this girl. Okay, here we go. Here we go with this.
This thing suggestion that more effective.
The interesting point that all those leaders, they are very clear aware what will happening here today. And besides Bhakti Purushottam Swami and Gopal Krishna Maharaj sending us a message, where are all the others? They were knowing exactly what is happening here today. Yeah, it's not that they're unaware.
Okay.
So we can ask these questions to the GBCs.
And some bureau members also.
Yes.
Especially rather Revati Raman Prabhu, where is?
Yes, he's also the temple president of Tirupati. He's definitely part of this group.
There, Prabhu?
Yeah.
Prabhuji, that whatever we are discussing, it should be within a time bound by 15th of July.
Okay.
That has to be written somewhere. Its time bound is written, but not 15th of July. Because many disciples are waiting, aspiring disciples around 1,000, and plus Bhakti Charu Maharaj's aspiring disciples from Ujjain and from MP, they are also in the queue. From last 2 months, they are contacting us. We don't have any answer to give them. What
Mr. Bhakta Prabhu, note my words. Nothing is going to happen by 15.
So we'll give the initiation.
Maharaj will not give.
नहीं सीताराम प्रभु एक था. सीताराम प्रभु, you please hear me.
So ICC
प्रभु क्या होता है every
Prabhu, ICC can pass the resolution that Maharaj has already agreed not to travel to North America and not to give any initiation physically or online. So ICC can pass the resolution that in India, Loknath Maharaj can give initiation.
That's a good point. That's a good point. That's a very good point.
In India,
this is a good solution.
In India, can give initiations. That is
whatever they want to discuss, they can discuss.
Prabhuji continues. Not gives. He's already given in India because India is not accepting the ban. So in India, Loknath Maharaj continues his initiation and all his services to Srila Prabhupada Mission.
Continues is the word. Okay, continues.
We have to be careful.
Acha.
We have to be careful. We don't confuse things here. We can make resolution. We can make a resolution that Maharaj can initiate here, but we want them to tell that Maharaj can initiate here.
Right.
Yeah, so maybe simple. We can just.
We are just noting down the points now. And Prabhu, Sitaram Prabhu, you are there? Actually, what we discussed last time, that in ICC, Sumitra Krishna Prabhu, I'll take your point just after this. ICC discussed and passed. That actually kind of pressured for them to take back from CPO, because CPO was like a what do you call? end of the road. Actually.
Okay. Okay. All right. Thanks. So I know that was probably like a little strange for you guys if you're watching and you're trying to figure out what is that. Excuse me. So these are like the heads of the Hare Krishna organization meeting with this guy, the guru, his supporters. So they're meeting, and they were his supporters were pretty much giving the leaders of the organization an ultimatum, like, this is what you got to do. We're not going to follow your rules. We're not going to follow any restrictions that you're putting on. And it says on the screen there, they will not follow the meetings, the fees. They're not going to follow any restrictions. They're not going to. He can be glorified. He can be worshipped by his followers. He can initiate new people. And I know a lot of you are probably saying, what's the big deal with that? Let him go on if they want it. Well, because it shows you how they. I mean, I don't think any of you are like, hey, let him molest children and he can keep doing what he's doing. But a lot of you are probably, saying, well, what can they do? Well, I guess they really can't do anything. Especially the girl can't really do anything because too much time's gone by. So she can't really. I don't think she can sue him or anything. So and criminal charges, they can't. You can't file any criminal charges against him. I don't believe that can happen. So so he can just continue doing what he's doing. I mean, I guess. I mean, I don't know. But that's how they look at it. Now, the organization, actually, if it was my organization, I would say, buddy, you got to get out. I can't have you in my organization. I don't care how much money you bring in. I don't care how many people you got. I don't care how many people you take with you when you leave. Because that's happened before. But they're not on the up and up. I mean, I would be on the up and up. I would be like, you got to go. And you could take everybody. I mean, if there's 1,000 people and you take 900 of them, then I don't want those 900. Okay, because because that's what I did when I left the Hare Krishna. They said, we're bringing this child molester in. He's going to be one of us. He's going to be part of our group. And I said, I can't be part of a group that has a child molester in it. I cannot be part of a group that has a child molester in the group. I said, that's where I draw the line. I'll go with a lot of stuff, like the magic words. I'll go with the magic words and the magic fire thing, and I'll go with, there's a lot of stuff I'll go with, but I'm not going with letting a child molester come into our group and just be part of our group, our organization. I'm not doing that. So then that led to me investigating more and then leaving the whole thing and realizing that the whole thing it wasn't, as they say, it wasn't just this guy or that guy. It's everybody, because they're all following the same rules. So in the same way that our group wanted to let the child molester come in and be like, oh, we don't even know if it really happened because, it was in Cambodia, and, maybe she was of age, maybe she, who knows? It was no. They wanted to do that. It's the same as in ISKCON. It's the same everywhere. It's the same thing. It's better for the cult that we don't say anything. So here they're saying that we don't want to stop him. We can't tell his followers that there's a problem. We can't stop his worship going on because his followers want to wash his feet. We can't stop him from leading leading the singing and leading the parade. We can't stop him from that because his followers are going to be like, why can't he lead the parade? He's led the parade every year for the last 10 years. Why can't he lead the parade now? So, you know, how come he can't initiate anybody? He's been initiating people for 15 years. How come all of a sudden he can't initiate anybody? So then it's like, well, because this girl, you know, so you can't do that in the Hare Krishnas. It's like, so they're in a predicament here. They're like, so first they denied it and said it wasn't true, and the girl was lying and all this. Now then she came out and said, no, I wasn't lying. I'm a grown woman, and I know what I know, and I know what happened, and you know, you guys were all lying, and so now they're come out and they're like, well, what do we do? What do we do now? So for the last 10 years or so, they've been trying to figure out what they do. They're still trying to figure it out, and the people, so his people are like, look, man, this is a done deal. Nothing's going to happen to him. We're not following any of your resolutions. We're not following any of your rules. He's going to go on going on, and just give it up. So that's their plan. That's their plan of action. That's what they want to do, and
actually was an end of the road, and that was prevented when they heard India. So yes, Indian opinion does matter, Sitaram Prabhu. It's not that, but yeah, as you said,
I understood. Thank you, Sade Prabhu. Thank you for explaining.
Right, Prabhu and Sumitra Prabhu, you had a point, please.
Prabhuji, you have any question?
Please wait. Sumitra Krishna Prabhu has the point, please. Yeah.
Continues to give initiation not only in India, internationally also. Because what will happen tomorrow? They'll keep on telling that only can initiate in India, not in the West.
No, Harival, can I speak one sentence?
Yes, yeah.
Actually, instead of saying he can initiate in India, I should say, except America, anywhere, there is no problem. Problem is in America, you are banned for there.
I see.
Okay, so what they're saying is, you know, well, he can only be guru in India, not in North America. So, you know, that, again, they're just like making up their own rules to try just to cover up for a child molester. All of this just because this guy touched a little girl. This grown man touched this little girl, and they don't know how to handle it. They just don't know how to handle it in this movement, because the fact that he touched this little girl goes against everything that they're teaching. Their whole teaching is that if you chant these magic words and you do all these things that this guy's doing, you're not supposed to touch little girls. You're not supposed to want to touch anybody. You're not supposed to want to touch a grown woman. What to speak of a little girl or a little boy? So their whole thing just falls apart. So many of these guys that are just like this guy, they're following all their rules, reading their books, following their rules, chanting the magic words, saying the magic prayers, going around, doing this, doing that, collecting money, doing all the stuff that you're supposed to do. And this guy is still touching little girls. He's still trying to groom this little girl. These guys are all over the place. Little boys, little girls. There's a guru he's like the little girl guru. He surrounds himself with little girls. There was a guru in West Virginia who surrounded himself with little boys. These guys are like insane. And that's what I'm trying to tell you. And not only are these guys insane, their followers are insane. They're like, look, don't tell anybody. Let's just keep it all to ourselves, and let's just keep things going the way it's going, and just pretend like. Now, can you imagine? Because this has happened. There's been a lot of these gurus that just left. They left with a little girl. They left with a wife, a therapist. They left with all the money in the safe. They left with all their followers. Started their own cult. So many of these guys have just bounced out with money and followers. So you can see that they don't want to lose another one. And he's one of the big ones. Like, these guys can get big at any time. It's not a big deal. They preach, they run around, they do their thing, and lo and behold, they rise to the top because they got some charisma or some storytelling technique that they got, and I don't know what it is, but it's definitely something. It's definitely something that they learn, because they all learn it, and because it's the same crap. They're all saying the same stuff. It's not like any of them got anything new. None of them. They don't got anything where you go, wow, that was amazing. They're nothing. They got a bunch of stories like fables and fairy tales that they tell you that have no meaning, no substance, and everybody sits there like emperor's new clothes, like, oh my goodness, wow, wasn't that amazing? That was amazing. That was amazing. And it's and then when you realize that you've just spent 20 years in this, and you see these guys are supposed to be gurus, or your guru. You see your guru molesting you hear about your guru that molested a little girl, an 11-year-old girl. It's like, you got to be like, no, he didn't do it. No, the little girl's lying. Like, why would a little girl lie about it? And that's what they do. They get violent, and don't talk about my guru like that. My guru is the sum total of the demigods. He's the sum total of 330 million demigods all rolled into one little man, and it's my guru, and he's sitting right over there, and don't you ever say anything bad about my guru. That's how these guys are nuts. These guys are nuts, okay? That's how they think. And so I want to go back to Gora, the guy we started with. Now, he was born in the Hare Krishnas, and then he got initiated, took one of these gurus as his guru, spent years following this guru and distributing books and working with the guru right hand, just like I'm telling you about. So he actually experienced that. I did too, but I wasn't like officially in the movement like he was. I was, I don't know. We have a similar story. But anyway, I want you to hear a few things about what he has to say about the ways that the Hare Krishna cult traumatizes people, and then I'm going to comment on that, because I have a very similar view that he does. A lot of times we agree on everything 100%, but we just have a slightly different a take on it, because I was not born into the movement. I came along as an adult and joined on my own. He was brought up in it as that his parents were in it, so it's a little bit different. And so here we go with, let me see if I get this going. Oops. Sorry about that, everybody. Got a commercial going there, but let me see if I get this going for you here. Okay.
Right after the last video, which was titled, "Why is Hare Krishna so bad?" That video was a response to someone saying in the comments, look, I watched some of your videos, I don't get what's so bad about it. So as a response to that video, Michael said, you always speak in these vague generalities. You don't talk about, specifics, right? What actually, what's so bad about it? You're just saying it's so bad. You keep saying that over and over again. So through this channel, I've met a number of people who were at different stages of leaving the Hare Krishna religion. So the videos I've thought of them primarily as for those who are in the process of leaving. I haven't really been trying to help people go through that process, because that's the process I've been through. I wasn't focused as much on trying to give information to people who are just trying to learn about it, but I see maybe that is an oversight on my part, and I do plan to do some specific videos. But anyway, so, that's a long way of saying, if you've been through this, you understand it, right? And so I didn't always feel like I needed to elaborate all the little things, but maybe that was an oversight. So we're going to try and correct that a little bit here. But there is also another reason, which is it's kind of hard to talk about the ways in which being a Hare Krishna, being a part of that religion, harms you. And that's because they're so fundamental, sort of like the fish is the last person to know about the water. They affect every aspect of your life so much. But we're going to try and dig into that. We're going to try and dig into this topic. So title of this video we're going with is 30 Ways Being a Hare Krishna Harms You or Undermines Your Mental Health or something like that. I make up the titles after I record the videos. Sometimes it's a big secret. Okay. So how do you even begin to describe this? And I want to describe some really traumatic things. And I don't mean to make light of anyone who's gone through these things, because these are very, very traumatic things. They're some of the most traumatic things a human being can go through. And I'm not saying one is worse than the other, not comparing traumas, just drawing some analogies here. Okay. So, you know, how does going to jail harm you, right? Say you have to go to jail and you lose all these years of your life. How does having an abusive parent harm you? A physically abusive parent, a sexually abusive parent. How does being sexually assaulted harm you? How does growing up in poverty harm you? How does growing up in a war zone or civil war harm you? How does going off to war and killing people harm you, right? Those are just some forms, but what do they all have in common? What they all have in common is trauma. So if you want to understand how being a Hare Krishna harms you, you have to understand trauma. And we're gonna do some videos on there's some good books recently that have come out on trauma. I'm not an expert on the topic of trauma. My academic training is in philosophy and in the social psychology of morality and religion. But I think I can talk about it enough to be useful for you all. So we're gonna do some videos on trauma. Okay, so in short, just, you know, I'll do a couple minutes here on what trauma does to a person, the pervasive effects of it, and then we'll talk about some of the specific ways in which being a Hare Krishna, being a part of the religion, is traumatizing to an individual. Okay, so trauma changes your brain. Now, of course, everything we do changes your brain, right? You're watching this video, your brain is subtly changing, it's storing information.
Okay. All right, so I just wanted to talk a little bit that trauma is the number one thing that you go through in a cult. Now, everyone's level of trauma is different. Like, he went through trauma. He was born into it, and then when he was 18, he officially joined. Like, you know, he got a guru, and he began, like, took initiation, which was like a big step. So all that stuff is trauma. Like, he just growing, I can't imagine what it would be like to grow up where my parents were hardcore Hare Krishnas, and ever since I was a baby, I was doing all these hardcore Hare Krishna things, because even as an adult, they were difficult and they were not always joyful. It was like, now they want you to believe that everything is, that it's all joyfully performed, but it's not. Okay, it's like, I mean, you can, you know, over time you convince yourself that you're enjoying these things, but you know, would you do it if you hadn't joined a cult? I mean, maybe, but you know, like, I used to think when I was in the cult, I would get up at, not every day. In the cult, you get up every day at 4 o'clock, and you go to the temple by 4:30, and then you're in the temple doing one thing or another until about 8:30. So that's like 4 hours, right? It's like 4 hours. That's like half a work day you've already done in the morning in the temple. So the first thing you do, you get up at 4 o'clock, you go and you take a shower, get ready, you go to the temple. If you live there, you live right across the street, so you can maybe sleep a little bit later. But if you live outside the temple, then, you know, you got to drive there. But there's no traffic at 4 o'clock, so you know, you can. But anyway, you got to be there at 4:30. But no matter what, you got to be there at 4:30, and you start your morning at 4:30 at the temple every day. And if you live there, like if you live in Scientology, you live in the blue building, If you live in a Hare Krishna temple, you're in the one of the rules of living in the temple is you got to be in the temple at 4:30 every morning. So I didn't live in the temple, so my going there was voluntary. And I convinced myself that was a fun thing to do, that I wanted to go and be at the temple at 4:30 in the morning. And sometimes I would go, sometimes I wouldn't. It didn't matter. And I would convince myself that, well, my father goes and plays golf, and he gets up at 4 o'clock in the morning. He gets his golf gear, and he goes off to play golf, and he gets to the golf course by 7, and then he gets on the list, and then at 8 o'clock or whatever, however it worked, and then he'd play golf, and he'd come home, and he'd be done by 11 o'clock. He'd be done by 11 o'clock or whatever. And I justified I was like, I'm no different. My dad does it. He gets up at 4, so I can get up at 4, But what my dad was experiencing was something real, though. My dad was actually going and playing golf. I was going and playing. I was cosplaying at the temple, pretending I was a 16th century Bengali, a homosexual Bengali in the 16th century. That's what I was doing. Which, I don't know what that. You can get enjoyment out of that. If you want. If you want to say that's enjoyment, go ahead. But actually, after 20 years of that, you go, I'm traumatized. That is traumatizing. That not only that, but the fact that I was misled, I was lied to. All my friends aren't really my friends. All these people that I thought were my friends aren't my friends. Half the people I know are actually covering up for child molesters. The philosophy is full of racist, sexist, horrible teachings that aren't really. They're in there. They're like mixed in. It all comes to light, though, kind of like a 3D photograph that if you stare at it long enough, it pops out at you and you see what's really there. So some people never see it, right? Some people, you stare at that thing forever and you never see that it never pops. So a lot of people are in the cult, and even though they're being molested, they're being traumatized, they don't see it. They don't see that it's the cult. They don't see that it's the cult. It's where are these people getting these ideas that you can just excuse a child molester? Where in the world, where on this planet do you get the idea that you can just excuse this guy? Nowhere. There's no, even in jail, they go after child molesters, because even in jail, they know that's even the most hardened criminals in a jail know that child molesting is not an excusable thing. It's not something that you just say, oh yeah, just go ahead. Even in what world is a man who is revered as good as God? His feet are being washed. He's being offered food and things like he's the king, like he's King Henry VIII or whatever. He's given all these, wherever he goes, and people throw money at. He's treated like he's some kind of Dalai Lama ×9 or something, right? That's what he thinks. He thinks he's God's gift. He thinks he is God's gift to the world, and that he can touch a little girl and get away with it. And all of these followers, all these people that follow him, where do they get the idea that you can molest a child and get away with it, and just, hey, no big deal? Where and what world, in what society is there a society that just allows child molesters to just molest children? What country? What government? What country can you go to and you could just molest children and there's no laws against it? And the government just goes, hey, get out of here. Where does that society exist? Seriously, where does that society exist? That we're predators are allowed to just operate, not just operate, but to be worshipped. To be worshipped as good as some kind of God, as good as some kind of Messiah, some kind of Savior that's gonna make the world a better place and the world happy. How do you make the world a better place when you just ruin this little girl's life? She's gonna be thinking about that and remembering that forever. That this guru guy touched her, not just touched her. You touch somebody on the shoulder, or you pat him on the head. No, he what the hell, man? Talk about your creepy uncle action, man. And not only traumatized her, but traumatized the whole family. The whole family traumatized. If I was her dad, I'd be like what the, like her mom or dad or brother, sister, and they got to deal with this guy, and then they got to watch this guy being worshipped like he's some kind of god by this cult. She's going to watch that for the rest of her life. You got to see that. And her family, who thought they were going to get that, chant and be happy. Chant Hare Krishna and be happy. Come to the festival. Come to the festival in Venice Beach. Get a book. Read this book. It'll change your life. Talk about changing a life, man. Talk about ruining a life. Talk about trauma. PTSD. Shit, I just lost 20 years. I lost 20 years of my life to this cult. And she lost a lot more. A lot of people lost a lot more. A lot more. So just, I wanted to share this with you. I hope you learned a little bit of something about how they can forgive these child predators and let them off the hook. You can see right there for yourself that these organizations, these cults, will do anything, say anything to just let people off the hook. Not just people. These aren't just people. These are people that they claim are. See, that's why they gotta let them off the hook, because they claim that these guys are like pure, the perfect spiritual, the perfect person. They're like the perfect person. So if they can't be guilty of anything, it's not possible. And if they are guilty of something, you got to forgive them anyway. You got to forgive them, because they got that verse that says even if somebody is engaged, even if somebody does something abominable, some horrible abominable thing, even if they do that, you still got to forgive them, because they are rightly situated in transcendental devotional service of the Lord. It's crazy, and that's what they were trying to tell me. They're trying to tell me, you got to forgive this guy, and you got to just surrender and listen to us. If you don't listen to us, then you're evil and a demon, and maybe we got to come down and straighten you out. Maybe we should just come down there. And another guy says, yeah, maybe I'm going to come down to LA and take care of this whole situation. And then I went to the other guys in the group, and I'm like, hey, what's going on with these threats of and then I was like, oh, wait a minute, so you're all in on, everybody's in on this together. So what this, all you guys are all in on this get together. It's not just one or two crazy people. See, that's how it is. The ones that are silent and don't say anything, they're in on it too. So everybody can just stay silent. Let the loudmouths talk. Let the ones take the fall that need to take the fall. But everybody else just doesn't say anything, because they don't want to be. They don't want to lose their position in the whole thing. Because they have to let everybody go. Shit, if they could, and that's what Prabhupada said. When they brought the child molester to Prabhupada, and they said, hey, he's molested every kid in the school. This guy molested every kid in the school. What do we do with him? And Prabhupada said, well, he's got to go, but you know he can come back and eat on Sunday. So when you've got that going on, man, you gotta draw the line somewhere. But I'm gonna be back with more videos. I try to do a video like almost every day. I got to combat the Hare Krishna Cult videos that are out there. All these bogus gurus like this guy. He's got his YouTube channel. He's got his followers posting videos. Meanwhile, he's out there. Now, believe me, this is not the first girl he's touched. This is the first girl that spoke out and said something. And then probably since then, he probably tried to cut back on touching little girls. But it's not the first time. No way, not the first time. And anyway, I want to thank you all for watching. I'll be back with more great videos exposing the Hare Krishna Cult, filling you in. If you have any questions about anything in the cult, leave me a comment. I'll be more than happy to. Oh wait, let me try and do this for you guys. Can we do this? Yay! You can visit me on the web at itsmikesandoval.com. You can visit me on the web at itsmikesandoval.com. Okay, is that enough? Okay. I don't know, it kind of looked kind of good. All right. Yeah, so you can visit me at itsmikesandoval.com. Also, my email is itsmike@itsmikesandoval.com. You can shoot me a message if you like, if you want to be confidential about it. If you're in the Hare Krishnas and you want information about leaving or anything like that, I'll tell you what I know, everything I know about them. Or if you're about to join and you want me to give you the lowdown on what you're in for, I can do that for you. Otherwise, stay protesting Scientology. Spread the word. Hare Krishna is a dangerous child abusing cult. And everybody have a great day, a great night, a great day, and have some great luck out there. Have some great luck out there, everybody. Thanks for watching. Like, share, subscribe, and just have a great time. All right.